everyone, it's Max, and today I am here with finally my December wrap up. It has been a minute. I kept meaning to film this, but it kept not working out. So finally on my lunch break, I am filming it. So without further ado, let's get into it. And then this month, it was all kind of books that are part of a series. So this has kind of been my plan every year, is that once December rolls around, I want to finish or catch up on as many series as possible. So almost all of these are sequels. So the first book I picked up became my favorite book of the year. So if you saw that video, you will know what it is, and that is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This is the fourth book in the Stormlight Archive series, and it was amazing. It was everything I could have hoped for and more, and it was just honestly perfection. This is a series that takes place in this other world, and the first book follows four main characters. One is a healer turned soldier turned slave, one is the uncle of the king, one is a noblewoman who is sent to infiltrate the palace of the princess to steal an artifact, and one is an assassin in white who weeps as he kills. It was so amazing. It was so good. If you haven't read this or started the series, please do. It is amazing. I love Brandon Sanderson. He is my favorite author, but this is without a doubt the best book I think he has written. And I am so excited for book 5, even though that comes out in like 3 years. That's kind of his track record, is like every 3 years he comes out with a Stormlight Archives book, and I just can't wait already. I'm so excited, and I absolutely adored it. 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I picked up was The Shadow of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. This was the sequel to The Rise of Kyoshi, which tells the story of Kyoshi, who was the avatar, 2 avatars before Aang, which is in Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. She is amazing. I really like Kyoshi. The problem that I had with this book is that it didn't feel like a finale. The first book, it made sense as to why it was the first book, like very much so, because that's when she realizes she's the avatar. But this one did not feel like the last book of a series, that's for sure. This felt like it was a companion, where it was kind of like going to be a series telling of her different journeys and trials, and it just, I don't know, because I thought the sequel would like at least have like when she breaks off Kyoshi Island, but it doesn't. It's before that, and this just didn't feel like a finale. It felt like just a continuation in like a series of shorter novels telling about her adventures, which then might have ended with the Kyoshi Island separation or her death, and just one of them being the Kyoshi Island separation, because that is like the main thing she is remembered for, and it wasn't even in this duology at all. So it was a little disappointing, and I ended up giving it a 3.75 out of 5 stars. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Trials of Apollo, The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan. This is the last book in the Trials of Apollo series, which is about Apollo. After he pisses off his dad Zeus, he is sent to the human world as a human and has to stop these ancient Roman emperors from trying to take back the world. And kind of similar to Shadow of Kyoshi, it was a little disappointing. It just felt so anticlimactic. Like, they have been building towards this thing for 4 books. This is the 5th book, and the ending just happened so fast. And while we knew like what the main end-all be-all fight was going to be based on like the kind of situation, it still didn't feel like the bad guy that he ends up fighting at the end, like the climax, isn't the emperors. And you know why, but it still felt like it should have been the emperors, because that is our main plot for the past 4 books have been these emperors. Instead, it was this snake. And like, I know why, and it's been alluded to that, and like I knew it was gonna happen, but it still didn't feel quite right. But overall, everything happened way too fast. It wrapped up super easily, and I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I'm gonna talk about was the audiobook that I listened to this month, and that was The Original by Brandon Sanderson. This was not a sequel. It's just, I was in the mood for Brandon Sanderson after Rhythm of War, and it was on Scribd, and this is about a girl who wakes up and has no memory of killing her husband, but she is told that she did so, and she's actually a replica, which is basically a clone, and they are kind of made with the distinct purpose of killing their original. If they are able to kill their original, they then take their place in society, but if they aren't able to within a certain amount of days, they are then killed off. And it was good. I think Brandon Sanderson, and he co-wrote this with someone, I don't remember who, but I think Brandon Sanderson did a great job at making us really root for her, even though like I have a hard time with short fiction, like actually rooting for and feeling for the main character because you get such a short time with them. But he did a great job in this book of making us actually like really feel for our main character and root for her. There was an open ending, which I don't love open endings, but it was fine, and I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars because honestly I couldn't really find fault. Right, the next book I'm going to talk about was another one that just swept me away and blew me away, and that was Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a series that takes place in ancient Egypt, and our main character Nari, who is a con woman, she doesn't think she actually has magic, but she convinces people that she does until she accidentally summons a deva, who then takes her to the city called Daevabad because he realizes because she is the last of a bloodline of ancient healers. And he takes her to this city, and she kind of gets totally involved in court politics with our other main character, who is the son of the Sultan Emperor guy named Ali. It was amazing. This was the final book, and it absolutely blew me away. I expected it to be sadder and have like a sadder ending. Like I remember when Reagan from Prue's Project read this, she said it was a satisfying ending. She said it doesn't mean it was a happy, like super happy ending, but it was satisfying. And yes, it was satisfying, but honestly it was about as happy as you could have ever expected. I thought it was gonna be a lot harsher, but overall it was amazing. This trilogy is phenomenal. If you haven't read it, please pick it up, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I finished was my Tamora Pierce book of the month, and that was Lady Night. And this, again, kind of along the same lines as these other books, I'm starting to sound like a broken record, it felt just wrapped up too easily. I did end up really, really enjoying this volume, and I didn't think I was going to, because Tamora Pierce has this kind of tendency to have like the first 3 books in her series like go one way, and then all of a sudden at the end of the 3rd book you realize that the main plot is actually going a different way, and it always just feels so out of the blue for me. And this was the same way, and this did have that as well, but I did really like this last book quite a lot. It was action-packed, it just flew by, and I actually really did like it, except the ending did just happen too easily. But middle grades, and I gotta remember that about Rick Riordan, is that it is a middle grade, and you can forgive that because they are supposed to be just fun, fast, you know, they're not supposed to be huge trials and tribulations. But I did really enjoy this, and I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 stars. And this is about the first Lady Knight in Tortle since Lady Alana, but Lady Alana hid herself as a boy during her whole time in training, and then revealed herself once she became a knight. This is Kell is known to be a girl from the very beginning. And then the next book, I realized I picked up the wrong one, but that is Return of the King, not Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. And again, really disappointing. This was just bad. Honestly, I didn't like it. This is an iconic trilogy that by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, where these characters have to try and destroy this ring that whoever wears it like takes over their mind and makes them a bad person, and they have to fight orcs and all these bad guys to destroy the ring. Everyone knows the story. That was not a good synopsis, but there we are. And the third one wasn't good. The final battle, the huge battle that in the movie takes like hours, happened in like the first half. And the Return of the King looked bigger than it was because like half of the book was appendixes. And so the book was only like 300 and something pages. Half of it was this battle. And then, no, not even half. Like the first 100 pages was this battle. And then the rest of it was the longest denouement and resolution you could imagine. It was so painful. It was just like, okay, the plot is over. Why are we still reading? Why is this story still going on? Because it just wasn't good. It was killing me. I ended up giving it like, I think like a 2.75 out of 5 stars. So disappointing and just brutal. All right, and then the next book that I read was a reread, and that was A Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir. This was the third book in the Ember in the Ashes series about a girl named Laia who became a spy for the Resistance, and she's sent into this top security, top-notch military school to infiltrate them and work to spy on the main lady. Our other main character is Elias, who is the son of the main lady and is training to become a mask, as well as maybe the next emperor. And then our other main character becomes a main character as the series goes on, is Helene, who is Elias's best friend and becomes very high up in the courts, and she is hunting Laia. It's a bad synopsis, I know, but you know, that's how it is. In this reread, I liked Helene so much more than I did the first time. I really didn't like her the first time I read this. I thought Helene was annoying and mean and just did not like her. This time, I really liked Helene. I'm really behind her. I was like, she is so stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's literally nothing she can do right. And it was just so good. I did drop my rating because which I will be talking about soon, is the fourth book I liked more but didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars. So I did end up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. But still amazing. Because I was just still in that mood, I just decided to go right ahead and pick up Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir, which was brand new in December, and I did really like this. This is the last book in this series, which is just crazy. And then I realized I need to tone it down, where I just go into finales of like fantasy series expecting the worst. I'm like, everyone is going to die. And that's because of Game of Thrones and Throne of Glass and these series where they kill off our main characters. And I need to stop having that expectation, because then I'm kind of disappointed when like there isn't like that much death, which is stupid. I should be really happy when our main characters get out alive. And that's not like a spoiler. Kind of, because there's still death. There is still death, but it's just not as hard on the group as I thought it was going to be. I did enjoy this. I feel like it lost the plot a little bit. Like I was reading it and I was kind of like, okay, what does this have to do with anything? So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it like a 4.25 out of 5 stars, because it just felt, I don't know, it's been a while now. I don't totally remember how I felt, but it just kind of, again, wrapped up a little too easily, it felt like, but also it just didn't feel like it was leading to the end of a series. I don't know why. I don't quite know what I'm trying to say, but it just didn't feel like it was, that this should have been the last one. It felt like it could have gone on maybe for another book, but then also not, because I feel like if it had gone on for another book, it would have felt like it was just dragging it on. So I don't remember. There was something about it that just didn't totally mesh with me. So I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the third book in the Nevermore series about this girl who is born on a specific day that anyone who's born on that day is cursed. And they are cursed to die on, I think, their 11th birthday. But when her 11th birthday comes, she's swept away to this magical city called Nevermore by this man who's puts her through these trials to become part of this school, and there's a very specific reason why. I'm not going to say why, huge spoiler, but I love this series. It is so good. People compare it to Harry Potter, and like, I don't think it's like Harry Potter. There is a magic school, but it's also just got that feeling. And I didn't even really like the Harry Potter books very much, so this, I kind of wish I had this series when I was younger, because I think this would have been my Harry Potter. It's so good. I love Morrigan. She is such a great main character, and I loved this book because in the past 2 books she's always been a huge outsider, and people have been really either like, and there's a reason that people don't like her, and I can't give that reason, but it's kind of it's valid, but it's also like they're basing her off of like assumptions, and it's just this book, she finally finds people who don't hate her for who she is, and I really liked it. But part of this book is that there is, in this series, there are Wunimals, But there are also, yeah, there are Wunimals, and these Wunimals look like animals, but they have like the mental capacity of humans, and they speak and they have jobs, but there is a plague going around where it turns Wunimals into Unimals, which are just regular animals, and it spreads fear throughout the land because people now just turn on every Wunimal, not whether or not they actually have the plague or not, and Morrigan has to figure out what's going on. I really, really like this. I don't think it's my favorite in the series. It might be. I've just loved every single one of them. They're all just so, so good. And you know, this might be because it made me cry. I did cry. And I just love Morrigan as a main character. I think she's great. I love Jupiter, her kind of the guy who whisked her away. Her friends are just like the best. I love her little crew, and like, it was so good, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The second to last book that I read was The Ever After by Amanda Hocking, which, wow, was this a slog. It took me forever to get through. I wanted to enjoy this because I enjoyed the first 2 books in this trilogy, but this one I did not like. It was almost 500 pages, and it just didn't need to be. It was so long, and it just was ridiculous. I was just like, get on with it, because the other 2 were like 300 to 400 pages, and that felt about right. 500 pages was so unnecessary. This is about a girl who is half troll, and she's trying to find her family. She goes to this mythical troll city and gets swept into huge politics, and it just felt like the third book she was trying to make this story so much bigger than it was, because the first 2 books it was really centered on her finding her family, and then the third one was like all of a sudden this intergalactic war, and it was just like, what? And it was just ridiculous. And I felt like our author was trying to connect everyone. It was like, turns out she's related to him, and he's related to him, and they're all related. And it was like a surprise. By the end, I was like, oh my God, like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no way that these people are this connected. Like, it just didn't work, and it was so disappointing because I wanted to like it so much, and I just didn't. And I think I gave it like, I think I'm gonna give it like a 2.753 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I picked up was 10 Arrows of Iron by Sam Sykes, the sequel to 7 Blades of Black, and I loved 7 Blades in Black, like, so much. One of the best books I read in 2020. It was amazing. This kind of let it down. All I'm gonna say for a synopsis, and I implore you not to read the synopsis on the back of 7 Blades in Black, because it gives away such a huge, crucial detail that I think it should have been a plot twist. And this is about a girl named Sal the Cacophony with her talking gun as they try to get revenge against these people who wronged her. It's all you need to know. It is definitely a revenge story. It is sapphic. She is in love with this woman here, Liette, and it was just, the first book was amazing. I literally texted my best friend who's gonna read it, and I was like, listen, don't read the back. Like, please don't. And then, you know, then do it once you've read it and tell me if you think like it was good that you didn't read the back. And she did that. She was like, oh my gosh, she's like, thank God I didn't read the back, because throughout the whole book, she's like, okay, so why, in a good way, like, okay, why isn't this happening? Like, why doesn't this, you know? And then, like, in the end, it's revealed why. And it's just, I think it would have been, like, it almost made me cry. And I think that if I hadn't known what happened, I think I would have cried, and it would have hit so much harder because it was so emotional. But they gave it away in the synopsis, so don't read the synopsis and just go into it and know it's a sapphic revenge fantasy, and it was amazing. The next book was okay. It's so long, and I don't think it needs to be. I also don't know how the plot is at all connected to the first plot. It was like the first book had a very clear and distinct and understandable plot. This one didn't. I'm like, I don't know why she decided to do what she does. And Liette annoyed me a lot, and it just missed the mark. It didn't have the same impact on me as the first book did, and I was a little disappointed, but I am still very excited for the third one whenever that comes out. I don't even know if there's a title, I can't remember, but it was just, I wanted more from it. I wanted more of the first book that had this heart and this greatness with these 2 awesome supporting characters, but the 2 supporting characters are barely in this book, and that was a bit of a bummer. It does have one of my favorite tropes, which is like our main character telling someone the story to like how they got to this point. And I do really like that because I feel like it raises the stakes where I'm like, okay, how'd they get here? How'd they get here? Some of my favorite fantasies have that, and this one did as well, and I do enjoy that, but this one did kind of miss the mark, and I think I'm gonna give it a 3.75 out of 5 stars. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'm so sorry this is coming so late in the month of January, but I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon with another video.